Hello everyone, my name is Stuart Bradley. I'm the host of the Stu's Conspiracy Funhouse podcast and an occasional contributor to the Debunking the Debunkers blogspot. And I apologize for taking so long to address this topic, but I have a lot of friends who love Noam Chomsky. I'm personally a fan of his work. He inspired me a long time ago to begin thinking critically about politics, specifically the covert things our government does. So Chomsky was an early role model for me, which is why I'm so let down by Chomsky's position on 9/11 truth. You see, I believe that we need a new investigation into the 9/11 attack. And yeah, that makes me a truther, although admitting that has instantly ruined my credibility with some people, but I hope you will at least hear me out before passing judgment. My problem is that when I attempt to discuss 9/11 with many friends, their immediate position is that if Noam Chomsky says it's a waste of time to discuss it, then they're not even going to bother listening to me. So I decided to take a look into Chomsky's position by watching two videos, which I will review here. The first video is called Chomsky Dispels 9/11 Conspiracies with Sheer Logic, posted in 2007 by Daily Background. And the original question to Chomsky, which was cut off in this video, was whether he thought the Bush administration, or Bush, quote, Bush clan, was behind 9/11, seeing as they benefited, how much they benefited from it. And he spends the first 2 minutes basically saying how every oppressive government in the world benefited from 9/11, so the Bush administration has no special motive for wanting 9/11 to occur. And then he goes on.
Did they plan it in any way or know anything about it? This seems to me extremely unlikely. I mean, for one thing, they would have had to be insane to try anything like that. If they had, it's almost certain that it would have leaked. You know, it's a very porous system. Secrets are very hard to keep.
So his first point is that something would have leaked because governments can't keep secrets. And this is a common conjecture employed by debunkers, which is an obvious logical fallacy because by definition we can't possibly know how many secrets the government manages to keep because they have kept them secret. Chomsky himself has talked at length about how much the U.S. government has done in the past that the public was never informed about, and he knows more specifically how governments employ propaganda and misinformation to influence what the public thinks about what little information they do get. But in the case of 9/11, there were leaks. People like Sibel Edmonds, whose testimony was deliberately omitted from the 9/11 Commission report, or FBI agents Robert Wright, Harry Samet, Colleen Rowley, and others who were blocked from their investigations, or Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer of Able Danger, or informant Randy Glass, all of these people who stepped forward with information and were ignored by the mainstream media.
So something would have leaked out, very likely. And if it had, they'd all have been before firing squads, and that'd be the end of the Republican Party forever.
Now here he makes an important point. He suggests that if something did leak, that they would be put in front of a firing squad and would end the Republican Party forever. Now, I agree that if evidence of the Bush administration involvement was presented to the public, there would be a huge national outrage. Remember that point.
Now, if you look at it, there's a big industry in the United States that this was all faked and it was planned by the Bush administration and so on. If you look at the evidence, anybody who knows anything about the sciences would instantly discount that evidence.
Chomsky says when you look at the evidence, but he doesn't say what evidence specifically he's referring to. There's been a lot of different theories forward with a lot of different evidence, but he suggests that all evidence is the same and none of it has any scientific merit. Well, keeping in mind that this is recorded in 2007, the largest controversy at the time was a paper written by BYU physicist Dr. Stephen Jones demonstrating how the collapse of the 3 World Trade Center towers defied the laws of physics. Considering that Dr. Jones had published over 50 peer-reviewed scientific papers and worked as a principal research investigator for the U.S. Department of Energy, it's safe to say that he was familiar with the sciences. There was also the report from the Westminster Polytechnic Institute that was hired by FEMA to investigate the World Trade Center steel, and they found the steel girders were melted, quote, like Swiss cheese by a mysterious eutectic reaction. Now, does Chomsky really suggest that this research evidence was not produced by real scientists? Did Chomsky even know about this evidence? He doesn't say anything other than all the evidence is worthless.
I mean, there's plenty of coincidences and unexplained phenomena, and, you know, why did this happen and why didn't that happen and so on. But if you look at a controlled scientific experiment, the same thing is true. I mean, when somebody carries out a controlled scientific experiment at the best laboratories, at the end, there are lots of things that are unexplained, and there are funny coincidences and this and that, which are just going to leave a lot of things unexplained. That's the way the world is.
Again, without mentioning what evidence he's referring to, Chomsky then applies another logical fallacy by confusing the unknown with the unknowable, saying that in any controlled science experiment or natural event, that there are unexplained results with no way to make sense of them, which again is a silly statement. Anyone who knows anything about the sciences knows that the scientific method was created to find ways to explain the unknown. If a test yields unexpected results, they continue testing to try to understand it. They don't just give up and throw their hands in the air and say, well, some things are just unknowable, and that's the way the world is.
So the evidence that's been produced, in my opinion, is essentially worthless. And the belief that it could have been done is so, has such low credibility that I don't really think it's...
And then he says something absolutely amazing.
I mean, it just doesn't make it. I mean, even if we're true, which is extremely unlikely, who cares? I mean, it doesn't have any significance.
Can you believe that? Just a few minutes ago, Mr. Chomsky said that if evidence proved Bush officials were involved in the attack, that the outrage would result in firing squads and the end of the Republican Party. And now he says, if it is true, who cares? Well, Mr. Chomsky, a short list would include the friends and families of those who died in the attack, the soldiers who went to war based on the attack, and the American citizens who were frightened into giving up their constitutional rights to prevent another attack. He then deepens the whole by comparing it to the energy wasted on researching who killed JFK.
But it's a little bit like the huge energy that's put out on trying to figure out who killed John F. Kennedy. I mean, yeah, who knows? And who cares? I mean, plenty of people get killed all the time. Why does it matter that one of them happened to be John F. Kennedy?
Do I really need to explain to Noam Chomsky that when a sitting U.S. president is assassinated, that who did it is actually of significance? I'm a little surprised that no one present when he said this didn't call him on it. I mean, it's such a bizarre statement. Much less all of the people who've been circulating this video as confirmation of Chomsky's brilliance. The second, more recent video is called Noam Chomsky Discusses 9/11 Conspiracy Theories, posted by R.P. Shredow, 2011.
And they have factoids, too. Like, somebody found nanothermite, whatever the hell that is, on the bottom of Building 7 or whatever, okay. I have no idea what it means or if it means anything. But that's the core of a large part of the evidence that was done by the Bush administration.
So Chomsky characterizes the core of the 9/11 argument as someone found nanothermite at the bottom of Building 7, which is a gross misrepresentation to begin with. But then he says he doesn't know what it means if it means anything, which is a subtle admission that he never bothered to actually look into the core argument of 9/11 truth. In the book Towers of Deception, Barry Zwicker talks about Chomsky's repeated refusal to even consider the evidence presented to him by colleagues. Now, you could call that a personal bias before examination, a personal bias so strong that it prevents examination, which becomes willful ignorance. It's not like he doesn't have the same access to this information as everybody else, but he obviously does not want to know about it.
Now, the people who are writing about this, they are experts in physics and civil engineering on the basis of an hour on the internet. Okay, so you spend an hour on the internet, you become a super expert in civil engineering and physics, and you learn what nanothermite is, and and so on.
Here Chomsky is suggesting that the only people who support 9/11 research are uneducated and unqualified internet surfers who present themselves as false experts. Now, this is a slap in the face of groups like AE 9/11 Truth, who currently have over 1,700 certified professionals in architecture and engineering who have signed the petition for a new investigation, or Patriots for 9/11 Truth, who represent over 1,500 certified architects and engineers, as well as hundreds of military and government officials, professors, and aviation professionals. Yet Chomsky belittles them all. Is Chomsky really this misinformed, or does he simply wish to discourage people from considering what these professionals have to say?
They've managed to collect a very small scattering of architects and, one or two people who are supposed to be scientists and a couple of others who write articles in the Journal of 9/11 Studies and maybe sometimes in an online journal somewhere. And so, okay, that proves that the scientific world is with us. And then comes along a big story. There's some obvious questions. Like, suppose the Bush administration did it. Why would they blame Saudis?
Here, Chomsky tries to change the entire debate over the credibility of evidence by employing a non sequitur, submitting that if the Bush team was really behind 9/11, then they wouldn't blame Saudis for the attack. But they didn't blame Saudis, they blamed the Al-Qaeda network, which has no national affiliation. As to why they picked those specific hijackers is a question you can't possibly answer without a deeper investigation, which Chomsky himself is against having.
And huge efforts are going into this. Nothing's ever going to happen. They tried it for 7 years. They never indicted Bush. Of course, we're never going to. They go on for another 50 years. It's never going to have any effect.
Right. All of the efforts by these people will not have any effect as long as trusted public figures like you continue to discourage otherwise open-minded people from listening to what we have to say. To say nothing will ever happen is a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you will not even investigate the possibility that the effort is legitimate.
It does have an effect. It diverts a lot of energy and effort from trying to do something like, say, stop the war in Iraq. But of course, that takes effort and it's costly and so on.
He says the 9/11 truth effort is diverting energy from stopping the war. But the justification for the wars and the justification for dismantling civil rights and the justification for secret prisons and torture, these are all results of the 9/11 attack. If 9/11 was exposed as a false flag, then the justification for all those things would be gone. I can't think of a more direct way to end the wars and restore justice. Noam spends the rest of the video discussing why so many people are compelled to believe in conspiracy theories. So I'll try to wrap this up by giving you the best reason to believe, by actually looking at the arguments being made and the evidence being presented by certified professionals. Noam, if you haven't seen the movie 9/11 Experts Speak Out, which I've linked here, please just take 2 hours to watch this and understand why it's so important. Thank you for your attention and best wishes to all.